This is what we normally think of when we think of a vacuum cleaner. A labor-saving, if somewhat noisy contraption found in most modern homes and apartments. Yet what most of us don't realize is that the technology which underlies all vacuum cleaners can be traced in part to the answer to a riddle. What do vacuum cleaners, a Catholic girls' school in Watchung, and a plumber from North Plainfield all have in common? Mechanical cleaning devices had begun to engage the attention of inventors in the latter portion of the 19th century, a period when carpets and upholstered furniture came into widespread fashion, and at the same time as hygiene became an increasing concern in the home. Suctioning dust out of a carpet and into a closed container would obviously be more sanitary than the customary beating of a carpet, which only served to spread the dust around. At least 24 British and American patents from the 1850s on, as well as French and German ones, arose out of such concerns, some of them suggesting the use of hand-operated bellows or pulleys, others employed steam power or gasoline, and even electricity. Among those to turn their inventive and entrepreneurial skills to such challenges was David T. Kenney. Born to Irish immigrants on a White House, New Jersey farm in 1866, at age 15 he was apprenticed to a plumber, and 10 years later began a plumbing business of his own in Plainfield. His first inventions in the 1890s were for water closets, tanks for flush toilets that he sold as flushometers. Enjoying an income from their manufacture and sale, he soon joined the many inventors seeking to mechanize house cleaning. Kenney filed his first patent application for a cleaning device mounted on wheels in 1901, calling it simply an apparatus for removing dust. This patent was not granted until 1907, but in the meantime in 1903 he managed to obtain one for a separator for apparatus for removing dust. While pursuing these patents, he installed a 4,000-pound steam engine in the basement of the Frick Building in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It had attached to it pipes and hoses that reached to each part of the building to suck out dust. About the same time, an English engineer, H. Cecil Booth, demonstrated that suction could remove dust embedded in upholstered furniture in a rather dramatic fashion. In the frequently told tale, he placed a clean, white, freshly laundered handkerchief on a plush chair. Placing his mouth on it, he inhaled deeply and was almost choked by the amount of dust that had accumulated on the back of the handkerchief. Booth had built and marketed a power-driven machine, coining the term vacuum cleaner. He applied for a United States patent in 1902, just 2 months after Kenney first filed for his patent. Kenney had attended a demonstration of the Englishman's cleaner and, after purchasing a unit, bought out Booth's U.S. patent application. Once Kenney had his 1907 patent in hand, the Booth application was permitted to lapse. Finding himself bested by a self-educated American did not sit well with Booth, as he revealed in a protest published in a trade journal many years later by Booth's British Vacuum Cleaner Company. But it was the start of a new technology, and the U.S. Patent Office was quite swamped with inventions employing vacuum technology during those early years of the 20th century. Vacuum apparatus, vacuum cleaner for carpets, vacuum cleaning apparatus, vacuum cleaning device, vacuum cleaning implement, vacuum cleaning machine, vacuum cleaning systems, vacuum cleaning tool, vacuum dust remover, vacuum pan, vacuum producing apparatus, vacuum producing device, vacuum sweeper, and similar terms fill many columns in the annual indexes to patents granted during these years. Portable units, stationary ones, and some that were motor-driven were also envisaged. That it took over 5 years for Kenney's 1901 application to be granted was due to its having been at first rejected by the patent examiner and only being approved on appeal. His 5 patent applications from 1904 to 1906 provided for refinements such as improved nozzles and improvements suitable for uneven surfaces, an improvised dry separator, and a transparent chamber for allowing the observation of dust deposited in water, all of them referring to operating equipment attached to a central system. Kenney acquired important customers for his central vacuuming system. By 1906, display ads in popular magazines by his vacuum cleaner company at 427 Fifth Avenue in New York showed an electric central vacuum cleaning system located in a basement with hoses reaching into various rooms, said to be in use in the New York Times building, the White House, and elsewhere. He had incorporated this company in 1903 and assigned its subsequent patents to it. A building constructed in 1906 on North Avenue near Johnston Avenue in North Plainfield's Netherwood section, as well as other locations, housed its manufacturing operations. Kenney's company was chosen to install the central vacuum operation in the celebrated Singer Building at Broadway and Liberty Streets in New York, at the time of its 1908 completion, the world's tallest office structure. The building actually contained two vacuum systems, one for general cleaning and the other for use by tenants during office hours. Hat and coat renovators were also included. The vacuum cleaner company was reported to have had portable cleaning apparatus in Boston, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Chicago, and St. Louis. His Jersey vacuum cleaner company, located at 129 Brunswick Street in Newark, offered central installations and portable service, warning, quote, "Do not allow the use of the dangerous broom." Kenney would not have enjoyed such success had he not been a shrewd businessman in such a highly competitive environment, as well as a skillful inventor. He understood that the future of his inventions lay as much with the legal system as on the workbench. Early on, he chose the noted patent attorney Thomas Ewing to represent him. Ewing later served as U.S. Commissioner of Patents under President Woodrow Wilson. Now, Kenney was no newcomer to the courts. He had won an 1899 action and a 1905 infringement suit over one of his water closet patents. Kenney's receipt of his fundamental vacuum cleaning patent in 1907 would be followed by many years of contention in the courts, but Kenney prevailed in almost all of them. Defendants relied on various earlier patents, but judges, often impressed by the plaintiff's self-made status and success, found those claims to be of no relevance. One judge declared that, quote, "Kenney founded the modern art of vacuum cleaning." Between 1905 and 1907, the company grossed over $800,000 according to a 1915 case, leading the same judge to call Kenney, quote, "almost the storybook inventor." Nearly every case resulted in the defendants having to pay a licensing fee to Kenney's vacuum cleaner company, which took in over $250,000 in such fees between 1909 and 1915. In the process, the company was morphing from manufacturing into patent holding. By 1909, the public could choose from over a dozen stationary vacuuming systems and over 100 portable cleaners. But this was the era of consolidation through trusts and monopolies, and the vacuum cleaning industry was no different. In 1911, 7 companies attempted to fight Kenney's patents, but the next year had to agree to accept licenses at 2.5%. The consolidation attempt failed in 1912, but it left Kenney with a commanding position in the industry. 2 years later, 11 firms tried consolidation again by forming the Vacuum Cleaner Manufacturers Association, but it and a similar attempt failed in 1916 to survive because not all of Kenney's licensees were members. Finally, in 1919, some 20 companies representing manufacturers of both portable and stationary equipment formed a successful trade association that was in effect limited only to holders of Kenney's patents. They were considered, quote, "the basic vacuum cleaner patents that have been litigated and upheld by the courts." The patents expired in the 1920s, and by then the sales of vacuum cleaners had reached over 1 million units. James Murray Spangler's 1908 patent for combining a small electric motor with a cloth bag to contain the suction dust was the first step in the emergence of the portable vacuum cleaner. William Henry Hoover purchased the patent, however, and his promotion succeeded so wildly that in the British Isles the household chore is still known as hoovering. But that Kenney's patents remained at the heart of the technology was confirmed by a 1916 appeals court ruling where he was declared, quote, "the founder of the present vacuum cleaner commercial art." Hoover's vacuum cleaners, however, were of no help to those outside of large cities, since few communities were served by electric power. Anyone living on a farm or in a small town who hoped to clean in a modern manner had to use a vacuum cleaner operated by hand, and that vacuum cleaner had to use the nozzle and other devices that were patented by Kenney. Sears Roebuck offered manually operated vacuum cleaners beginning with the fall 1909 catalog. Consumers could choose between 3 types that weighed as much as 50 pounds, one of them requiring 2 people to operate. The smallest model functioned somewhat like a bicycle pump, but in reverse. The single operator pushed the handle down a tube. When it was pulled back, the dust came up and into a receptacle that could be emptied as needed. Its weight of only 5 pounds made the plunger type the most popular. In fact, the majority of surviving manual vacuum cleaners are of this type. The spring 1910 Sears catalog reminded readers that, quote, "You need a vacuum in order to save time and labor and to promote health." Protect your health and your family had also been the admonition of Kenney's Jersey Vacuum Cleaner Company. Despite such advertising, many growing up on farms around New Jersey in the 1920s and 1930s remembered seeing such contraptions, but not their mothers actually using them very much. Word may have gotten around that they really weren't labor-saving devices, since few companies still offered them after 1916, and Sears discontinued them by 1920. In 1910, Good Housekeeping magazine had wondered, quote, "Do vacuum cleaners clean?" And they were not quite sure. When its staff tested a unit a few years later, it found that it was, quote, "not for the delicate woman." Not surprising for those 50-pound manually operated machines. By 1921, however, all that had changed. Many electrical models were on the market, including imported ones. And when the magazine ran a questionnaire, its readers unanimously endorsed vacuum cleaning. Once portable electric vacuum cleaners for use in private homes were practical, thanks to Hoover and the spread of electrical grids, they became ordinary household implements. Vacuum cleaner sales in the United States more than doubled between 1916 and 1918, going from 11,756 units sold to 24,451. In 1921, however, it jumped to 1,024,167 units sold, for a total of $35 million. The industry for whose growth Kenney was given so much credit by his contemporaries was, at last, well established. During the long wait for that 1907 patent, Kenney had asked the Sisters of Mercy, an order of Catholic nuns who were his daughter's teachers, to pray for him. He had been donating land since 1905, and these gifts enabled Mount St. Mary's College, founded by the order in 1873, to move from Bordentown to the present Watchung Mountain site near his manufacturing operations. He would continue gifting them land to the end of his life, ultimately totaling over 70 acres. But he also took an active part in the planning of the buildings for the school, which opened in 1908 with an elementary and secondary classes, and included 7 girls and a college department. Kenney's generosity resulted in his being made a papal chamberlain by Pope Pius X in 1906. The income from his various patents enabled Kenney to pursue other business interests as well, including real estate and charitable activities. He served on the board of a hospital and of the Rahway Reformatory in New Jersey. In 1915, he, with his wife and daughter, gave a dance for a debutante, a possible clue to social ambitions in New York City. The industry with which he has been identified for so long being well established, Kenney turned his inventive skills to yet another field, receiving his last patent for a heating system designed to improve the distribution of heat from a wood-burning fireplace in 1920. David Kenney was also well known in Beacon, New York, where he and his family would take holidays in the historic town overlooking the Hudson River. Its name is derived from the over 1,500-foot-high Mount Beacon, offering breathtaking views of the Hudson Valley. Signal fires were lit atop it during the American Revolution. Kenney was known by locals for taking long walks in the woods, far from the bustle of business back in North Plainfield and elsewhere. But in May of 1922, he had more on his mind than business as he traced Mount Beacon's wooded paths. Catherine, his wife of nearly 35 years, had died a few months before, and then his sister also passed away. He had been described as having been brooding over their deaths. David T. Kenney was found dead, hanging from a tree near the Mount Beacon Incline Railway on May the 4th, 1922. He was there for at least 10 days, and the coroner ruled it an accidental death, likely to permit him burial in a Catholic cemetery, since suicide would be considered a sin. Of course, the vacuum cleaner industry has gone on to become a worldwide business, and inventors still tinker with better designs, from stronger motors to bagless models, even robotic machines. All, however, trace their lineage to a group of early inventors and businessmen. Some names, like William Hoover and Melvin Bissell, live on, while others, like Daniel Hess, Ives McGaffey, John S. Thurman, H. Cecil Booth, Walter Griffiths, Herman Bogenschild, and James Murray Spangler, are less readily recalled. Unfortunately, David T. Kenney is included in the latter obscure category. So the next time you perform the chore of vacuuming your carpet, give a thought to David T. Kenney, the New Jersey innovator who helped to make it all possible.